All right. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Let me just make one little just change here. There we go. All right. Happy Sunday, everyone. Look, I am live from the house. I'm gonna try to do a few of these videos from the house because, like I said last week, yeah, I'm working on Sundays, but I'm gonna go a little later. Today's my daughter's birthday, so I want to give a shout out to my daughter, Anaya. Happy birthday, daughter! And so I do want to get into it because yeah, I got a lot to do today as well. So today's topic, well, let me give my little introduction. Welcome to Profound Sunday, a time of the weekend I go live each and every week to discuss a profound topic. I started this a few years ago because I want to help everybody to elevate their own spiritual journeys as I've been able to do for myself and continue to do. It is not a destination. It definitely is a journey. So it continues on and on. Every day is an opportunity to learn and grow. So welcome. If this is your first time watching, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. And so I'm gonna get right into it. You know, under construction, baby. I got this particular idea. You ever seen a construction site and you're like, God, Lee, this thing been under construction. It seems like forever. You know, it's like, oh my goodness, will this thing ever be done? And so when we drive through construction zones, we often get frustrated. Roads are blocked, traffic slows down, dust is everywhere, nothing looks finished. You know, we can say that about, especially in Houston, you know, but one thing that's very, very profound about construction, it does mean that something is growing, it's progressing. You know, if you think of a house that was built in 1920, it's going to have to go under some construction in order to stay, you know, imagine if it never has construction. And see, some of us want to go through life never having construction. But imagine what that's going to do in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years if you never update what you got going on. That's not a life I want. I want to constantly be growing. I want to constantly be progressing. I want to constantly be, you know, just moving forward. So if we're honest, though, when we look at a construction site, that's very similar to what happens in life and what healing may look like. Healing and personal growth. That's what it looks like. Many people want the finished building, but nobody wants the construction process. Like you want that nice, pretty, you know, that you want the expansion on the lanes, but do you want the construction? You know, I remember when 59 had to go through an expansion and they literally had to like buy out, you know, there was some growth here. And I mean, this was a massive undertaking for that expansion. But rarely do we want the process. We don't want the slow traffic. We don't want, you know, we don't want the fine. You know, if you ever drive through a construction zone and where workers are present, that the fine is actually double. And I can understand why. You know what I'm saying? Construction workers don't want to lose their life because you can't slow down, because you got always in a rush to get somewhere. So spiritually speaking, God is not redecorating your life. God is actually rebuilding it. And that's what we're going to talk about. The under construction. Some of us are under construction. I'm under construction. You know, what it looks like. That's what today's topic is all about. So getting right into it, first thing that usually most people kind of miss when they're under construction is how you have to go through a demolition, the demo. You know, when a house has to be remodeled, they're going to have to tear some stuff out. You're going to have to remove them cabinets. You got to take out that wall. You've got to, you know, you might find you some old little mold back there growing and all kind of other hazards and things like that. But a lot of times in our life, when it's under construction, we might have to go through a demolition. We're going to have to, like, you know, before a new building can rise, the old structure oftentimes has to come down. Sometimes you have to go straight, start from zero. And some of you know what I'm talking about in life. You just have to back to square one. Let me just start over. I'm not going to try to rebuild with the broken fractures of what I already had. Let me just start over. You know, it just clean slate, a lot easier, because construction managers, they have to consider if they're trying to remodel something, do I want to work with what I already have or do I just want to start over fresh? So the hardest part of healing isn't learning something new. It's often letting go of what no longer serves you. God often starts the transformation with the demolition. That may look like demolishing your pride, demolishing unhealthy relationships, demolishing limiting beliefs, false identities. Some of us have false identities, who we believe ourselves to be versus who we are, who we show up as, who we want to be. Sometimes we have to demolish wounds we've built our lives around. Now this becomes normal. Chaos becomes normal. If things aren't just out of order, I don't even know how to function. It doesn't, like, peace for me feels unforeign. That is some people's reality. To others, it may look like you're even falling apart. To other people, it looks like, you know what? If you walked upon a construction site where the house was being demolished, you would think that, it's over for them. Not realizing, and that's what's happening in a lot of our lives, God is coming in to actually be like, I'm about to rebuild something new. So I might have to take everything. I might have to start you over fresh. I may have to, start with a clean slate. Start with you being open. Sometimes we want God to come in, but we don't want to let go of control. We want God to fix it, but we don't want to let go of control. We don't want to, so then sometimes the situation gets fixed for us where we have no other choice. We're backed into a corner. What else can we do? Now God's like, you ready? You ready? You want to come now? Okay, come on if you want to. So to others, it may look like you're falling apart. It may look like, there's another saying, sometimes you get buried, but if you're a seed, you need to be buried. Because that's the only way for a seed to truly grow. It might be tight, but it's right. So internally it may feel uncomfortable because parts of you that once felt safe are being removed. But God never destroys without purpose. That's the thing about God. That's why you have to be integrated with where God is in your life, because on your own, you're going to struggle. On your own, you ain't going to be able to figure it out. On your own, it will not happen. But when you have God with you, within you, beside you, integrated into your very being, this is where you understand God does not destroy without a purpose. Sometimes the breakdown is actually preparing you for a breakthrough, and that's what you got to accept. So, for example, before God could use Moses to lead a nation, he had to demolish the identity Moses had built in the Pharaoh's palace. So you've got to be willing to say, you know what? All right, you got it. Take my hand. Get your hands off the wheel. And then, so what may actually feel like a loss may actually be divine excavation. This may be where God needs to, I'm tearing all this up. I'm ripping it out because there was mold growing behind that wall that you built. And then you want to have a relationship. You want a healthy relationship, but you got mold growing all within you. See, when a construction manager says, I found some mold, I need to take this whole little thing. Let's just start over. That's going to be the better way to build. So when it happens, just be open to it. Be receptive, because how we process things is exactly how we experience them. So if we think, oh, God is trying to destroy me, nothing's on my side, nothing's working out for me, you may be so much further from the truth. Next point, construction often takes longer than expected. Oh, I'm looking at certain construction and feel like, oh, that started years ago. It started years ago. Construction often takes longer than expected. Nobody drives past a construction site and expects it to be completed tomorrow. Now, it is nice when they do pick up them cones and they done with their little construction. I love when they only close the freeway for a weekend, because guess what? We're right back to normal. But, major construction, major demolition, but here's the thing. In life, oftentimes we expect instant healing from years of pain. Like, how? You're like, oh, I'm supposed to get over this today. It does not work like that. And I wouldn't even put that kind of pressure on yourself to be like, you know what? It's a continual thing. So a road project can take years because the foundation matters more than speed. It doesn't matter that if it's done right, it's worth the wait. But then we want popcorn results. When you put a bag of popcorn in the microwave, and it's ready in 3 minutes, we want popcorn results. We want to be better now. We want that healing and things like that. But the foundation is what matters. God works in the same ways. We want quick fixes. God desires lasting transformation. What good is a change if it only lasts for a moment? If it's only when I'm motivated? That's why it's okay for motivational speakers. I never wanted to be a motivational speaker because I don't want to motivate you in a moment and then you go back to doing what you was doing before I came across you. Motivation lasts about that long, for as long as our attention span lands. But what about transformation? Transformation takes years. Transformation does not happen overnight. We can stop the habits, but then if we haven't fixed the issues below that, there's not transformation. So internally, you may feel stuck, during that in-between time when you wanting to change, wanting to fix. You may feel stuck. You may feel like nothing is changing. You may wonder why this process is taking so long. And guess what? Other people may even think that you've stopped growing. They may not see the internal work happening, but foundations are built underground where nobody sees them. You think about the foundation of a house. It's there. Some of us have cracks in our foundation. They need to be fixed. That's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day. I ain't going to get into that today, but they may not see the internal work. And honestly, to the other people, it really does not matter. What does matter is that you're doing the work daily. You're staying committed to the change. Sometimes we may go back, but as long as we stay focused on where we're going, it doesn't matter. So let me give you an example. Joseph spent years in pits, slaveries, and prison before stepping into purpose. For those that know, the story of Joseph and his brothers and how he became king and after being sold by his own family. Anyways, you read up on it if you don't know. So God is not delaying you. This is what you can remember and stay with you. God is not delaying you. He is developing you. What if you looked at every single situation as I'm being developed? If I'm open to that. But if I say I'm being delayed, that's exactly what you're going to experience. Next one. So every construction site has workers, okay? You cannot get the work done without workers. Now, no building gets done by one person. There are architects, there are engineers, there's electricians, there's an inspector, there's laborers. Likewise, healing requires people. So God sends us workers into our lives at different times when you're open to it, because here's the thing. If you're open to being under construction, going through the process of growth and healing and, transformation and expansion. So God will send us, and this has always been true in my life. It's always been true in my life to where when I needed something, God sent me the right people at the right time. I'm like, God, I need this. Bam. It shows up. Sometimes almost seems like it's instant. It's unbelievable. So God may send you a mentor, friends, pastors, therapists, coaches, even difficult people who reveal things within you that still need to be healed. Like we be like, oh, this person is a thorn in my side. Man, I can't, but ask yourself, this thorn in my side, where can I learn from that? Where can I grow? What is this teaching me? Where's the lesson in this for me that I can grow if I'm open to it? So internally, we often want God to heal us privately. We don't want nobody to know. We just want fix it, right? But growth frequently happens through community, the right community, the right foundation. A seed has a harder time trying to grow if it was planted in cement. Now, that is always a curious thing. Have you ever seen grass growing through cement? Do you know what that grass had to go through to get through the cement to grow? It always amazes me. How does this grass get to grow through cement? Unless there were cracks in the foundation. But that's another story for another day. But a seed can better grow in fertile soil that's going to be watered every day. You see, we are seeds that are growing each and every day. But what are we watering ourselves with? Are we watering ourselves with doubt? Are we watering ourselves with anxiety? Are we watering ourselves with, negative thoughts? What are we watering ourselves with? And then what does our community look like? Like, do we have people around us that are going to uplift us, encourage us, lead us, and keep us on the right path? Or are we keeping the people that's going to be cool with us, that's going to tell me, yeah, bust the window out their car because they did you wrong? Or are you going to have some good, wise people in your court? All that is up to you. That is your choice. So, growth frequently happens through community, and to others, they may only see the people around you. They may not realize those relationships are part of God's construction crew. I'm sure people thought I was crazy when I got a life coach, but that life coach helped me to get to my next level. That the life coach helped me to open up. So the people, though they may not understand it, I still had to do what I needed to do to get to my next level, and I've been grateful ever since. And so in the Bible, it says 2 are better than 1. That's in relationships. That's in, there's, I'm not going to get into the oxen, because there's a story where you have ox that are connected by this board that, that keep each other balanced in order to get more work done. But that's another one. So some people can come into your life to comfort you. Others can come to challenge you, but both of them are tools in God's hands. Like, don't be like, okay, well, I don't want the challenges, because the challenges are where you grow, but you also need the ones that are going to help to uplift you, encourage you, and things like that. The next one, where your life is under construction, there's a work in progress, and again, it's not always done. You got to do renovations. You got to go back and, expansion and things like that. So a delay does not mean abandonment. A delay does not mean abandonment. We've been getting some crazy weather. We've been getting rain. Okay. So there goes some delays, but that does not mean that we've been abandoned by God. One of the most frustrating signs on the road is construction delayed. When you're on the road trying to get to where you got to go in life, you want to be there, but then there's a delay. Look at that daggone delay. Now it's increased my travel time 20 minutes. Oh my God. I don't even think I'm going to make it on time. Probably should have left a little bit earlier. Delays do not mean the project has been canceled. Sometimes weather causes delays. Sometimes supplies arrive late. Sometimes inspectors discover deeper issues. That does not mean that this particular delay, you've been abandoned. Not by God at all. So sometimes, God often reveals deeper layers that must be addressed before moving forward. You want the job, but then are you prepared for what it's going to take? You want the relationship, but are you prepared for what it's going to take? You want the success, but are you really prepared for what it is going to take? You might need that delay to get you more tools so that when you get it, you can keep it. Because you might be able to get a car, but can you afford it? Can you keep up with the maintenance? You might be able to get the house, but can you, again, keep that mortgage paid? So internally, you may feel forgotten. Whenever there's a delay, when it's not happening the way you want it to, or as fast as you want it to, you may feel forgotten. You may question God's timing. You may even become discouraged. To other people, it may be even appear that you're not progressing, but God sees beneath the surface. Some delays are protection. Some delays are preparation. Some of them are even redirection. The thing for you is to stay focused on what that end goal and see delays as how, But even if I'm been delayed, I'm not going to give up. Even if I've been delayed, I'm not going to feel forgotten or abandoned. So the promise is real, and sometimes the wait is necessary. So just roll with it when it happens. And so the last one here that I have is that the finished result blesses more than the builder. Okay? The finished result. When they finally finished that construction, they had to expand it, and now we've got several lanes, because working with just 2 lanes wasn't going to be enough. See, I love construction. When people have to go under construction, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, because that means that there's progress. That means that there's expansion. That means that they've discovered that there is a deeper purpose than just, existing and just. So road construction isn't just for the workers. Because, of course, listen, When we have construction out here, that's giving somebody else a job, an opportunity so that they can feed their family and be a productive member of society. But road construction is also for everyone else who will travel that particular road. Buildings aren't built for the contractors. They're built for future occupants. Likewise, your healing is not just for you. Your testimony becomes a pathway for someone else. That's why it's important that we don't use shame when we go through certain things of, I'm alone and this and the other. You're probably not. Like when we see people who are vulnerable enough to share what has happened in their life so that it actually helps and it blesses somebody else and it gives somebody else ideas. Like knowing that we are literally connected one way or another by nothing else. We're all human beings. That's like a given. Your survival can also become somebody else's hope. Your wisdom becomes someone else's guidance. This is why I come on here and go live each and every week, because I know it's blessing somebody. It is. So to others, they eventually benefit from what God built in you, but internally you begin to understand why the process was worth it. Even if there was a challenge, because, and what has always blessed me is this one scripture in Romans, and it says, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. All things work together. The good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the everything. So I'm not stressing on the bad when the bad eventually will happen. I'm not even overly excited on the good because, again, all things are working together. So the pain is not wasted. The delays are not wasted. The demolition is not wasted. It is all for a purpose. And if you can just stay with that, then you'll be all right when that construction project is going on. And many of us are under construction. Like we've had so many different things in life to build us. We've had things that we can control. And then we've got things that are out of our control. Like COVID or now they're talking about another virus, like the economy, all of these things that are out of our control, but how we navigate them is 100% in our control. So here are your key takeaways. Whenever you are under construction, don't curse the demolition. Okay. Don't curse the demolition. What God removes may be making room for something greater. That's a belief that I live on. If something happens and it's not doesn't work, I'm not stressing about it. Because guess what? God has kept me for so many times. I can't even count them. So I cannot be mad when something does not go the way I want it to go. Because that's just life. God whatever he removes may be making room for something greater. That has been my experiences, and I'm here to tell you. Another thing, respect the process. So healing takes time to build. Whatever that process is, it's not a destination. Don't be like, well, some people, they think, oh, when I get the job, I'll be happy. But honestly, you may have more responsibility. So in the time that you don't have that as a concern, it's like the joy should not be in the thing. The joy should be in you so that when you do get the thing, you can enjoy it. So healthy things take time to build. Things that are good for you, they take time. So respect the process. Also value your construction crew. God often heals through people. So the people that God brings into your life, the good ones, the bad ones, don't be so mad at that ex because he broke your heart. Maybe there was something in you that you needed to grow from. And because they gave you that experience. There's a song by Ariana Grande, Thank You Next, thank you. Bye-bye. I don't have to wish you ill will and things like that. I always felt like my best revenge was my absence. Just don't have access to me anymore. So I don't need to, do anything extra. Also trust the delays. A delayed project is not a canceled project. Just because it does not happen in the timing that we think they always. So always write the plan, make it plain. so that in the future you can excel with it. Lastly, focus on the vision. The mess you see today may become the masterpiece for others to admire tomorrow. That's why when people have like what seems overnight success, no, they've probably been at it for years and 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 years. And then finally now you see it. You're like, woo. It takes a lot more than what's on the surface. And I'm actually going to talk about that next week. So when you see those orange cones, blocked lanes, and unfinished roads this week, remember, construction is evidence that improvement is in progress. So likewise, you got them cones out there and you under construction and you're not available and things like that. Hey, this is your time to be like, improvement is in progress. And when the life does feel messy, uncertain, delayed, and uncomfortable right now, perhaps the sign God wants you to see is that part in the mess, heaven is in building. Heaven is in building. You're not standing in ruins. You're standing in a construction zone where God is creating something stronger, wiser, and more beautiful than what existed before. And so those are my thoughts for today's Profound Sunday. I am going to give you your affirmations here to move you through this construction zone a lot more smoothly, because it can get bumpy, it can get choppy, it can get uncertain. Okay. But when you have the uncertainty, you don't have to know the whole plan. You just got to follow each step one by one and keep stepping. Don't stop. So whenever you see the demolition before development, your affirmation here is, I trust God to remove anything that no longer aligns with my purpose. What is leaving my life is creating space for something greater. I release old wounds, limiting beliefs, and false identities. I'm not being destroyed. I am being rebuilt. That is your affirmation for that. When construction takes a little longer than you expected, here's your affirmation. I honor the timing of my growth. I honor the timing of my growth. Every day, seen and unseen, I am becoming stronger, wiser, and more whole. I refuse to rush what God is perfecting, and my foundation is being built for lasting success. Lasting success. That's what we want. We don't want to be overnight success. Overnight success usually has an overnight decline. You know, if it comes quickly, it also leaves quickly. So that's your affirmation. Next one, every construction site has workers. I welcome the people that God has assigned to my journey. I welcome them. I receive wisdom, correction, encouragement, and support with gratitude. I am not meant to build alone. Divine connections are helping me to become who I am created to be. Welcome the people. Welcome them. When we're closed off and we're like a wall, it's no wonder nobody can get through. You're not allowing it. You're not open to it. But the moment you open your mind, your heart, your spirit to welcoming the people that God has for you along your journey, they start showing up. They start showing up. Next one, delays do not mean abandonment. Here's your affirmation. I trust God's timing even when I cannot see the full plan. I trust God. That's the whole thing about trust. So you can't have trust if you got to see. Because trust is seeing. It's like faith. It's the seeing without, it's the belief without seeing it. If you got to see it, you didn't have faith about it. So I trust God's timing even when I cannot see the full plan. Delays do not discourage me because I know preparation is taking place behind the scene. What is meant for me is not passing me by. I remain faithful, patient, and expectant. That was something I had to work on because I was the type of person where if I wanted it yesterday. And, you know, that kind of got me back at square one a few times. But that's when you learn your patience as well. So the last one here, a finished result blesses more than the builder. A finished result blesses more than the builder. My healing has purpose beyond me. Every lesson, victory, and breakthrough is preparing me to serve, inspire, and uplift others. Always make it about you, though, first. I'm going to put a side note in that. Make it always about you. Make it personal. Because if it is built upon what it does for other people, then you will need them other people to continue that. So make it about you. My life is becoming a testimony of God's faithfulness, and my journey will create pathways for others to follow. You might have to be the first one. You may have never seen anyone else move the way that you move. You might be the one that is a trendsetter, the one that starts it off for other people. So here is our closing collective affirmation. I am under construction and I am at peace with the process. Every demolition, delay, lesson, and challenge is working together for my highest good. God is building something extraordinary within me. I trust the blueprint. I honor the process and celebrate the person I am becoming. My future is worth the work. My purpose is worth the wait. My life is being built on a foundation that cannot be shaken. And you can either end there with Ashe, Amen, or whatever blesses your heart. But guys, that is my Profound Sunday for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Share it with someone else who can utilize the information. And I will see you all next week. Take care. Bye-bye.